Ain't no last calls here.
Bar Talk with Jay.
All right, brought to you by what? Oh, back up. Bar Talk with Jay. One of the things I want to say is brought to you by Dispose LLC. This is a garbage company that's doing great things, and I want to see if we can make great things happen for you. So all you gotta do is give us a call, go to our website, and again, you can also go to Dispose LLC. And we're gonna see if we can handle all your needs. We're gonna try to revamp some things. We're gonna try to improve our website to make it more friendly user. All I can tell you right now is just user. We're gonna make it a lot better. We're gonna try to add some more photos, try to show you what we want you to be able to experience. And that's one of the greatest garbage companies out there. That's right, and that's what we're gonna do at Dispose for you. Now I gotta get back to this person been rocking with me since I've been started this bad boy. Craftmatic, how you doing, big baby?
Man, I'm doing fabulous, bruh.
You still got that good, bruh?
This is a fabulous week.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fabulous week.
You're shining.
A lot of great things unfolded this week, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blessings on blessings, and just excited about life, man. How you doing, bruh?
I was doing good. That's wondering how you were doing last weekend. What'd you do for the weekend? Okay, back to that. Before I go any further with me, I got my man. No, not my man. I got my girl Barbara all the way. Well, you know, you've always been there for me, girl. Sorry. I got Barb all the way up from Macon, Georgia. How you doing, girl?
Barbara's doing fantabulous.
Fantabulous. Man, let me tell you. It's been rough, but the one of the things I can tell you is I can't complain.
All right.
Above ground, breathing. So why trip on some things that you thought was going to be different? Just know it gets better.
It just gets better, and that is a great way to segment into our introduction. Folks, this is Bar Talk with Jay. My name is Craftmatic. This is my boy Smooth J, and this is Barb in the building. And we are here to, again, liberate your mind and your soul with just a great dialogue. We talk about real and regular life, and we try to put a perspective on it that help us all grow in our spirits. As you listen to this show, we hope you can hear our opinions and experiences and our stories and figure out who you are, what you want to do with your life. Where are you going? How would you handle this particular situation that we're talking about? It's meant to be inspirational. It's meant to be uplifting. And we're going to talk about some pretty challenging subjects tonight. Tonight we're talking about the 7 deadly sins.
Ooh.
And this is not a religious program by any means. Everybody at the table might have a drink in front of them, and we say it, you know, how it really is. So we want to welcome you folks tonight. Got a great show lined up for you, and we always start the night off with prayer. And Jay, would you be interested in doing our prayer?
Even though I dressed the part, I'm going to pass it to you. Pass the craft. Go ahead. Give it to him, big baby.
Okay, I'm not sure where this is going, but let's just bow our head. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to come together again here at Bar Talk with Jay. We thank you for our friends and our families and our audiences. We thank you, Father, for all the people who poured into this show to make it what it is. We ask, Heavenly Father, that you would give us a special anointing to receive your blessings tonight. That you would remove all walls and obstacles and challenges to us receiving the gifts that you would have us to have and enjoy in this life. We ask, Father, that you would clear up our mind and clear up our spirit and clear up our understanding and our mentalities. Give us a clean, clear, pure consciousness, Lord, to proceed in this world. We ask this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man, I didn't want to stop right then.
I could tell.
I had another 2 or 3 sentences in there.
I just coming right behind.
Yeah. I'm probably about 3 or 4, 5 sentences before it ever come out of my mouth when I'm praying. And so sometimes I have to stop myself, and there's more to come on that. Start every single day off with a prayer. It will do so much for your day. I call prayer. I'm starting to think about prayer as a flashlight. Like a guide. You when you put a flashlight on something in the dark, you are laser focused on that thing, and you're bringing light to it. That's what's happening. You're bringing light to it, so that when you remove the flashlight from that particular thing, it'll continue to glow. You hear where I'm coming from, Jay?
I got you.
It will continue to glow. It's how you create your future is prayer, right? Because prayer causes you to live in tomorrow and to let go of today, right? When you live in tomorrow, that builds your faith so that when you come back today, that you'll have all the faith to see you through to that tomorrow.
Okay, now what I got from that is when I use that flashlight, it keep me from running into stuff. Okay? Because I'm already wearing glasses, so the vision ain't all there, right? So I turn that light on, I be like, yeah, now I can see. But to me, it's the same thing as when I turn to the Lord.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be something you don't see,
Right.
and He protects you. Just like when you walk into something and you be like, how did that just happen? Don't question Him, question yourself. Because a lot of times we don't do the right moves. We're not in the right place. But I promise you, when you ask Him, it turns a lot more on compared to you not doing it. And it turns a lot of things in the darkness. And I promise you, I ain't that good in the dark.
I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest points that I continue to make in all of my work is that we don't know the answer, but God does. God knows all of the answers. He knows what's on the other side of that hill. He knows what's around that curve. He knows what you're about to face. He knows what you can achieve. And if you don't lean on that, what are you leaning on? If you don't lean on that, what are you leaning on?
Your ego, your pride, the things you did, the things you claimed, which you did.
All of that stuff goes back to the dust from where it came. Yes, it does. So, let's go ahead and read and cover last week's topic. The question was, why do we use sex as a weapon? Woo, hey, we went from the Lord's Prayer to sex.
It wasn't me, bro. It wasn't me. I didn't write that. Put my hand on that one.
I put mine up on it too.
Because I'm telling you now, I get that one. But did you do? No, I ain't.
We are in the anointing, so we can go ahead and bring this. So, what would you say, Jay? Why do we use sex as a weapon?
I say a lot of times, because again, that's just one of the things that we see people use, but also the problems that's going behind that is what we really wanted to focus on. One of the things we was bringing out is, again, they're holding back, but a lot of times they was going through something. And that's one of the reasons why they did not want to do that. It was in an emotional state. And we wanted to get back to that emotional state to say, while you holding the sex, can we really solve the problem? Can we get past and have a better understanding? But we can stop fighting, because again, when you start using something, it becomes more of a weapon, because now I'm not even looking at the problem. I'm thinking you're just being evil. You know, you taking away some of my joy. I like my joy. And she's like, well, you ain't acting right. So we're not addressing the problem.
Yeah, and listen, let me set it up, because I think you talked about something great, Jay. What Jay is really talking about is you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, and the husband thinks that she's holding back, right? And the reality is she may be holding back, but she just might not feel you right now because y'all just had an argument, right? But the man, or Jay in particular, may be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Them, separate them two, you know what I'm saying? The bills ain't got nothing to do with the sex. Why you changing the game?
I ain't got no money, but I at least get some.
Right. So the perception is that she's using sex as a weapon, but she really just may not be in the mood, right? There is a chance that she could be using it, and you know, man, if you gonna cut the grass, she'll give you some.
I get somebody out there. We could be doing it. I get somebody out there. If that's how it was. Can we talk about it?
Right. That's what you got to do. You got to talk about it. Right. I reframed the subject. Why do we use sex as a weapon? Why do we use sex as a tool? Why do we use sex as a device? And one of the overall points that kept coming out is that it's just so powerful. You know, it is just so powerful. And my favorite part of the discussion was how women use sex as a weapon by the way that they dress. And, when you come across a woman who's dressed provocatively, she's demanding attention. And if she just happens to be the lady on your arm, you don't really want her demanding so much attention from somebody else unless you just don't give a shit about her, you know what I mean? There's some guys like that.
I mean, there's a few.
There's a few guys. Are you one of those guys?
I'm not going to just put me out there like that. Saying sometimes.
So let me ask you, Jay, right?
What's that, bro?
Like when your lady is dressed going out with you, if she wearing tights and showing a fat camel toe, are you okay with that?
Yep.
You're okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
She with me.
Okay.
So again, we're gonna cover up some things, but if it's left a good
Well,
little
what things
imprint,
are we gonna cover up, Jay?
anything that's gonna get us a ticket. Indecent.
That would get you a ticket.
Yeah, we won't. I mean, with the cameras on?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
I see them all. Well, a lot of tickets need to be passed out. I'll tell you. I see them all the time.
They see them all the time.
All
don't
the
you?
time.
I know.
And I'm gonna start writing them a ticket.
Listen, that is a weapon being used against you, my friend.
I don't know, but I'm gonna give them a ticket. I'm gonna start frisking them.
I'm scared of where you going.
Since you trying to do.
No, I'm just saying, no, I need to I want to make sure we holding the law. You know what I'm saying? If y'all saying that is illegal, I need to make sure I do my citizens.
Well,
arrest.
here's the thing: is that it's not illegal to show your privates to the world
Oh, it's
as
not?
long as nobody can see it.
That's why I'm
naked,
enjoying it. Okay.
right?
All right.
There are people, there's cleavage and there's prints and all kinds of stuff going on, and as long as it's covered up, you pretty much can do about what you want to do as long as you're in the right setting. If you wear a short skirt to church, you're probably gonna get talked about and labeled, and you should expect that, right? And so, if you're doing the shake 'em up dance during the service song,
She was feeling the Holy Ghost, bro. She was feeling it.
yeah,
It was all up
she
in
was
there.
feeling it, right?
And that short dress, it was just right up in there. It was a breeze.
I think she forgot she was in church and was reminded about being in the club. And I've seen it a few times. It got out of hand. Not that bad, but it was,
And she bounced
it wasn't
a little harder.
where it's supposed to have been. So, long story short, it was a great show, folks, and we would love for you to go back and check it out. There was a lot of humor in that show. We laughed like crazy, like we always do in our shows. Thanks to Jay.
I mean, it's
Yeah, you do a great job with that. And so check it out. We're all over the internet: Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Meet Me, Let Go.
Yep.
What was the one?
you doing such a great
Craigslist.
job. Keep getting there. You go.
I forgot that Black Planet.
See, that's what I'm talking about. He getting it, y'all.
What is it?
Was
Meet
it-
me.
Look at her. See, even she's starting to know.
Forgive me.
Forgive me. Well, yeah, you gonna forgive me afterwards. You gotta go there. We're gonna be there.
We're gonna
Even
be there.
Studio Head.
Yeah.
Another radio station that we on. We hitting every platform I possibly can. So again, make sure you share all the time. Like and share and like and share. And we're gonna see if we can continue doing what we do.
There you go. There you go. Let's go ahead and move on to our quote for today.
What we got?
It's another fabulous quote, and really gives us another perspective on how we introduce new things into our life. It goes like this: we can't be afraid of change. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Holding on to something that isn't good may be the very reason why we don't have something better in our lives.
Somebody talking about something.
Talking about change.
That's what I'm saying.
Change. How many people who are listening to this show know without a shadow of a doubt that they need to make some major changes in their life?
Oh, you gonna ask me, my bad.
Everybody, Jay.
Everybody.
Everybody.
I speak up.
There are some of you right now who you know absolutely that what you're doing or where you're going or who you're with, all that stuff is not for you anymore. It doesn't serve you. In fact, it hurts now to even be in that place or that space. It's literally painful. It causes extreme amount of stress and doubts and worries and fears and takes away your self-esteem, and you don't appreciate your gifts and talents, and you're being used and wasted and abused, and you are in that situation now, but you are not willing to change. Why is that? I know some reasons why, and it take me a whole lot of explanation to give it to you. I'm gonna try to give it to you in Minecraft.
Can I give it then? I'll give it short.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give it to you. The rhetorical question is, why do we continue to do things that are no longer for our good? Why don't we accept change?
We get comfortable. Again, a lot of times we have habits. And again, when you get in your funk and your habit, and you know you want to stop something, change is different. And a lot of times you just like the same. So you would rather stay with something that you know ain't good for you just because you're scared of the change. What's next? Am I gonna be lonely? Am I really wanting to do this? Well, I'm just giving one more chance. He ain't that bad. And you try to put more into it than is really there. And it could be very disappointing to yourself because now you give a person another chance that you already knew he was gonna fail. It's an oxymoron. But we do it, and we do it constantly. And that's why we have to get help. Sometimes some people gotta point out our flaws in the things that we continuously do that we get so much in a habit, we don't even notice no more. It is just a bad habit that people that love you can see it, but sometimes they're reluctant to tell you because you keep doing it. You talk about it like you're gonna get past it, but then you run right back to it. I prayed over it, but then you ran back to it. So did you pray for God to take it away, or you felt like you can just handle it on your own? Because once you go back, I think you block your blessing. Because what he had for you, you went back and got what he didn't ask for. And that's what he's trying to show you, but you're not in an understanding mode. And that's why a lot of times we keep doing what we do.
Absolutely, Jay. Woo! Boy, you killed it on that. And I took notes. And I want to just go back real quick and talk about what Jay said. I just want to label them. Here's what Jay said. He talked about you get comfortable is the reason why you don't change, right? You're afraid of the difference is the reason why you don't change. You're scared. You perhaps are lonely, right? Maybe sometimes you don't even desire it, right? You failed so many times. You've been through so much trouble you don't even desire it. How about this? You sacrifice. Oh, well, he'll change. He'll be all right. We'll get through this. You start sacrifice. You start settling is the reason you don't change, right? Bad habit. You got a bad habit, and you don't want to step out of your comfort zone, right? How about this? Not being open for help. You know the change needs to happen. You know the people who can help you, but you won't ask for it. You won't be receptive to it. That's powerful stuff, man. Listen, it is it's time for us to go to our first break, and I love where the show is going. We got started a few minutes late, and I think we were right on track. We do about 20-minute segments. And so let's go ahead and take our first break. Let me give you the topic for tonight as it stands, and then I'm going to ask that you enjoy some of this great music that I play for you here tonight. The topic is, how do we combat the 7 deadly sins? How do we combat the 7 deadly sins? Woo. I'm gonna need help. That's a supernatural conversation, boy.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all stay tuned. We're gonna be right back with more Talk with Jay. Experience in the shows with Buddha. You know we get real fiery in the show tonight. And I'm very interested to hear how he gonna disagree with the 7 deadly sins tonight. My expectation is that we're gonna hear some very interesting perspectives tonight. You ready, Brother Phil?
I'm always ready.
You always ready?
Always ready.
Always ready.
Okay. Well, Phil, let's throw the first one.
We ready to go in now?
I think we want to go in.
Okay.
I'm ready already. I want to go with that.
Folks, tonight we are talking about how do we combat the 7 deadly sins. And in order to talk about the 7 deadly sins, we probably need to get some perspective on what the 7 deadly sins are. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so I looked it up here on Google and got a little perspective on it. And it basically it's known as what's called the capital vices, the cardinal sins, okay, is how it's classified. And by the way, the 7 deadly sins do not appear explicitly in the Bible, okay? But these are behaviors or habits that are classified under this category. And there are things like, envy, and sloth, and gluttony, and lust, and there's a lot of things that are going on there. What I initially called during the pre-show, bad things. Right? And we're gonna jump off into this subject, and then there's no telling where it may go. But I'm wondering if there's any perspectives off the top from either of my colleagues here.
I was gonna have my man Buddha tell me a little bit about this lust.
Lust.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to start it off with the lust.
You want to start it off with lust?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Let's do it off the top.
So Phil,
Big
what
dog.
is your take on lust, man?
Well, first of all, you have to identify what lust is.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean,
okay.
that's the only way you can actually combat the 7 deadly sins.
Okay.
You have to be able to identify.
Okay.
If you can't identify what they are, how can you combat them?
Okay.
Knowledge
Okay.
is power.
Okay.
You seek, you understand.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, lust is exactly, it's self-explanatory.
It's
What the
sexual
eyes
desire.
see, the eyes won't. It's simple. That's lust.
Yeah, it's the definition is very strong sexual desire.
What the eyes see, the eyes won't.
And why is that a problem?
Not a problem with me.
So lust is good.
With moderation, I think so.
Okay. They wrote it clearly for us to have a clear notion that these things can lead to a lot of negative. And my whole thing is, I definitely feel because again, if I see something, I don't really feel like I have to lust over it, but I can like what I see. I think lusting is a little bit more than just liking, because there's a lot of stuff I look at and I like, and I won't define it as lust. I've seen cars, I've seen
Exactly.
buildings that was designed beautifully. I've seen women that look gorgeous.
Designed beautifully.
Yes, and I did not have to desire them, but I thought they was made up so nicely. Okay, because to me, to see a woman with her husband walking and she's built nice, and for me to lust after somebody else's wife, that is problematic. Because I'm trying to take over or enter somebody else's world that their world is already fulfilled. They already where they need to be, but I want to, because I like what I see. And I feel like it's probably some problems in paradise. So I just want to test the waters, because if it's all good, I guess she'll just tell me no. So of course, if I get the wink, I guess it's just bad water. So then I'm approaching the situation that can lead to a lot of problems.
It will lead to a lot of problems.
But yeah, it still look good.
You see, what we're talking about here, I think a caption for of all that we're talking about is excessive behaviors. We're talking about behaviors that are so excessive that they are almost sickening, or they begin to deteriorate or to destroy oneself and perhaps one's life. Perhaps one's character is totally destroyed when you lust after your brother's wife. Your character is diminished at the point that you don't determine the difference between that brotherly love you should have for her and wanting her as your own. And when you cross those lines, I think this is what the word has always been trying to tell us, is that when you cross those lines, you enter the dark realm. You bring on, you maybe open the door for dark spirits to come in, or for bad things to happen. And, lust is big nowadays. We just got through having a conversation about camel toes. And it's very difficult for a man to walk down the street and see it and not acknowledge it. And what it does is it promotes the spirit of lust. Does it not?
Sex sells.
Yeah, but
Lust sells.
yeah, and
They've been doing this since the beginning of time. The oldest profession is prostitution.
But let me ask you a question,
That's lust.
Phil. You don't see nothing wrong with that?
It's all about moderation.
Moderation. You can moderately lust.
Control your desires. You the master of your faith, captain of your soul, right?
You are.
Exactly.
And I think that's a great point to make. Balance is the key. But if you are a man who is constantly lusting at other women, and your wife see that you're lusting at other women, you have a problem that you are creating.
You ain't balanced.
There's a very big problem that you're creating, and you think that you're just looking out into the world and admiring what is there, but she sees that you have an interest in someone else. She'll constantly see you seeking with intensity someone else. And not only will you be seeing them, you'll be disrespecting her by looking that other woman up and down and, you know, trying to see all of her hind parts, etc. You are, in the very moment you're doing that, you are being disrespectful to the woman that you're with. And believe
You
it or
don't think women do the same thing?
and believe it or not, listen, we're not calling it right.
I'm just saying.
We're not saying that it's, we're saying that it's wrong,
It's definitely wrong. It's
right?
Yeah, but you,
That's what we're saying, that it is wrong.
everyone
You can
loves.
agree with that, right?
Yeah, everyone loves.
Everyone loves.
However,
Yes.
some people lust are different than others, and we all
Okay.
know we all got our game from a woman, cause that's who we first connected with. So, if there's no one better at cheating than a woman, no one,
Okay.
because every male and every female got every connection and every instinct from a woman first, not from a man.
Okay. Where you
We were
going?
tied to them for 9 months before we even saw daylight.
Okay. Okay. Where you going?
I'm just saying. Lust was created by woman first,
No.
not by man.
I don't know that that's accurate, and
Well,
maybe.
it's gonna be a debate tonight.
What do you mean?
I mean,
how do you not know it's accurate? It's in the Bible.
Well, I would imagine that
Mhm.
there was a you know, you're making me lose my train of thought a little bit, but if I am to address that question, I would probably say that a woman was just being a woman and a man was just being a man, and then a man looked over and saw a woman and was like, hey, what's that?
Oh, okay.
And the woman saw him looking at her like that, and she was like, oh, that's what you like? Oh, you like that? And next thing you know, there became this this unity of, you know, I see you and you see me, to the point that the I see me and I see you doesn't even have to be personal anymore. It can be extremely impersonal, and that's where the divide comes in, because you're stepping on toes when you lust, especially if you're lusting at someone's wife, or you're really invading a person's personal space when
Okay.
you lust,
So let me ask you a question.
and whether you know it or not.
What's crazy?
How do you deal with lust when you don't see it?
What do you mean don't see it?
If you don't see your woman or your wife lusting, how do you deal with it?
Well, I won't have a reason to deal with it if I don't see that
My
they're
point
lusting.
exactly.
Right. But if I do see that they're lusting, then what? Well, how do I deal with that? Let me turn the question around.
Well, you deal with that head on.
And how is
You
that?
deal with.
How would you deal with it?
You deal with the person.
What would you say to them?
You pull them to the side and you have a conversation with them.
Hmm.
But if you don't see it, you can't deal with it.
If they don't
That's
see it,
that's why I say
yeah.
the biggest lusters and the best cheaters are women.
Oh, it's gonna be a fight tonight.
I'm not so sure. I think we're in agreement here.
What? Y'all two agreeing?
I'm thinking so. What
What the hell? No, I gotta fight y'all. No, I'm fighting them then. Somebody fighting it on. Because because women might have started, but men have learned quickly, and I like to say it can go both ways at this point. It don't have to just be looked at as one way. I say
Let me just break it down.
behaviors have been it's been written for we can see it, for we can start staying away from it in the negative aspect, and we start to make it look like it's just an everyday aspect. So to me lust was a little bit past just with the eyes.
Very much so.
It is now. I want my mouth wide open, and I'm acting out of my regular character. Okay? And that's why when Phil said, how would you know? When somebody can point it out. When I see you drooling, knowing good and well, I know you weren't drooling before. I'm like, bro, really? At this point, I'm trying to call you out. Now again, and this is me, that woman might be single. Okay? Lust is still lust.
Lust is
And
still
now
lust.
I feel like it's okay to lust after she's single. I want her. But if she don't want you, she might not care for all that extra.
Yeah. Let me see if I can break this down just a
go
little
ahead.
bit, right?
I'm trying to paint a Mona Lisa.
To look at a woman
Mm.
and to notice her hair, her
Yes.
earrings, her shoes,
Wavy.
her clothes,
Oh.
her shape, her eyes,
Nice.
her cleavage,
Oh, it's out there.
perhaps even her camel toe.
Yeah, I kind of seen the print.
Right? So to look at a woman and see that and to admire its beauty
Mm-hmm.
on its surface is real, is kind of okay, right?
I would think so.
But the lust comes in when I, in my mind, begin to undress her. The lust begins to come when I begin to imagine me able to put my hands on her. The lust happens when I'm removing her clothes and fondling her with my mind. And let me tell you, folks, there's a phenomena going on in the world, and everybody knows about it, but nobody's talking about it. And I'm not really sure I should touch on it too much, but there are many people who have begun to realize that they can touch other people with their mind. And it is running rampant. But I don't want to cover it too deep. Let me just say this, that you are misusing God's power. And you wonder why your life is not moving in the right direction? Because if you come into a group of people who are conscious and aware of that, and you begin to grab and touch people and the whole room knows that you're the one that's in the room doing that, they're going to cast you out. See, the pure mind is going to reject the unpure mind. Right? So you're always going to be killing your own blessings because you are invading people's space spiritually, and you don't know that that's what you're doing. You cannot use your mind to do those kinds of things, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. If you use your mind to do those kinds of things, let me tell you what's happening in the real spirit. It's like you're digging into the side of a mountain with your mind. Whatever you're trying to touch or do, it's like digging in the side of a mountain. Guess what's happening underneath your feet? The universe is digging in the side of your mountain. And it's going to cause the ground under your feet to slip. You wonder why your projects aren't working out. You wonder why your relationships aren't working out. There is a natural, mathematical, and mechanical manifestation going on in your own life because you're misusing that power. See, the pure spirit is not going to let you get but so far with impurity. You see, you can't elevate to the next level of consciousness using this great power you have in a wrong way. You've got to learn how to use it. And so we cannot let our minds go beyond the surface of a woman's coating and covering. We should be asking ourselves, what kind of person is she? What does she like? Where does she come from? Who is she? What does she do? That sex is just running out of control these days, and we all know that it's a problem, and nobody seems to be wanting to fix it, because really the fix is in the mind of the individuals. You have to realize whether there's a consequence to doing the things that you've been doing with your mind as it relates to other men and women. If you think that you can just think anything you want about a person and there are no repercussions, you are lost. There are consequences and repercussions for the way we think, and we have to purify our thoughts in every way. Because what's happening is the universe is not tolerating impure thought anymore. It's shutting impure thought down. Any impure thought is beginning to be pushed beneath the soil. It's being buried, not by anybody else but God and the universe itself. Purified thoughts, man. Purified thoughts.
I gotta jump my ass in Lake Manitowoc because I'm telling you, that boy has done all of them. I thought it. I wanted it.
Lake Middle
My
Tahoe.
bad, yeah, I gotta go to Lake Better I'm going back to Prince, man. I'm going to Lake Better. Might jump in the wrong lane. Hey, Lake Better I'm going somewhere. I'm jumping.
Kill that.
I'm just trying to tell you,
Kill
yeah,
that.
that is some things that we have to really look at.
Yeah, man, we gotta look at that stuff, man. It's, you know, we are not just humans, we are spirits. You know, our humanness is a manifestation of our spirit. You know what I mean? And we gotta begin to operate in a civilized way inside of our minds and inside of our hearts, not just on the outside. So, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is just about time for us to go to break. I like that segment. I like that segment. I said a lot, and I can't remember all that I said, but I'm hoping it helped somebody.
Help me. Help me know I need help.
Yeah, y'all stay tuned. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back for Bar Talk with Jay.
Y'all been listening to this, man. We went kind of hard in on this one,
Boy, did we go hard in on that one.
but I feel like we gotta go a little harder.
We got to go harder. Okay.
Yeah, I was feeling y'all, but I ain't feeling fighting y'all. We're gonna fight for this one
Well,
because
see-
they wrote it to help make change. And y'all agreeing, and I ain't like it. So we gonna have to stir something up in this segment on
Yeah.
that one before we move on to the next.
Hold on. Let me just explain to folks. Right?
Okay,
I've been
go
knowing Jay for a while, and we've been doing the show over 3 years now. And Jay likes when there's argument and tension in the
Somewhat.
scope. But my question to you, Jay, is how can you have major argument and disagreement about the worst things known to mankind?
Because I don't feel like y'all really represented the worst very well.
works.
And I want to find out how we can make that impact. Because again, these things was written a long time ago for us to watch out for them. And now we're incorporating them and we're feeling like, okay, it's all right to do them, you know, in moderation. So long as you keep hearing that moderation and it's all right, so now you're trying to justify it and it's written as in these are the things you're supposed to stay away from. So I want to fight to find out, is it really something we need to just balance and let in, or something we need to really just get away from, period? Because listening to y'all two get along and be all right with it, I want to fight about it because I had it in my life and it didn't seem to do too bad until I realized that it didn't lead me no good.
You talking about lust?
Yeah, I had a lot of lust.
You had a lot of lust.
A lot
We
of
all have had a lot of
A
lust.
lot of lust.
We've all had a lot of lust in our life.
Unnecessary lust.
And you know, it takes growing through some things before those, you know, those chemicals kick in the right way where you know, where they don't pressure you to go out and do something or to be overthinking a particular situation or about a particular person. You know, we've all experienced lust, right? The point of the matter is that we just have to be able to try and manage it. That's all we can do is manage it. And sometimes it's hard to turn away from thoughts that turn you on. You know, that's a hard thing sometimes for people in the world, mankind, a human being to do is when you're turned on, you got to turn away from it. Something dramatically turns you on and you, in your mind, have to say no to it and turn away, right? Now, it's much easier to do if it's your brother's wife, right? If it's your brother's wife, you be like, why she so inspired, but I ain't be thinking about that. You know what I'm saying? She's supposed to be family, right? It's when you start to move away, and some people don't respect those rules by the damn way.
That's what I'm telling you. That's when you let that stuff get too comfortable in your spirit.
And we've all seen where there's a family gathering, and the cousin is inside, hanging out in the kitchen with the wife, and they end up bumping into each other by the stove or somewhere, and there's extreme lust going on there, and one spouse or the other is gonna catch it. And it's gonna be smoke in the city. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be some trouble in the house. So and there are people who can't control themselves. There are people who their whole behavior will shift, but they don't know that their behavior has shifted. You know, they're you know, I remember scenarios where it was a big gala party, and you know, one of my tight boys was there with his wife, and he was so intrigued with somebody else on the other side of the room, he just kind of stayed on the other side of the room half the night, over there lusting at somebody's wife, right? And his wife noticed it. His wife was like, "Oh yeah, he over there by that, you know, by that girl. You know, she didn't say girl, but she over there."
You know what she said.
And sure enough, you know, every time she glanced over to see about him, he was looking at her. And he didn't even realize that he was being caught to that degree. And if she got mad and didn't want to give out that night, she would be justified, but he wouldn't even know why. Unless she told him, you know, "I saw you over there watching that chick all night long," you know. So lust, you know, it can get us in trouble. Just for the sake of carrying on the discussion,
Okay.
there are several things.
You want to move on, or you want to kill lust?
You got something else? We need to move on, but go ahead.
We can break lust down in the most minuteness form.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I mean, it's real simple. Conversation rules the nation, right?
Right.
You control the woman's mind, you got the woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flirting. It's real simple. If you got the gift of gab and you can flirt with a woman, you got her.
Flirting would be an alternative to lusting, right? Saying something that would be.
If you can flirt with a woman,
Okay.
get her to giggle,
Right.
get her to laugh,
Right.
and if a woman can flirt with a man and get him to giggle and get him to laugh,
Okay.
it's a part of lust. Because flirting can lead to other things.
Flirting absolutely can lead to other things. Yeah.
Y'all snitching, y'all the Cadian. Y'all know I love jokes. Y'all gonna tell everybody now, everybody wanna be a damn comedian. It ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
Break it
yeah.
down to the simplest form.
You know, lust, I believe, is a great thought process. It's the thought process that is against the world. It's kind of against the word of God. It's not the way you're supposed to look at people. You're supposed to look at a woman
it's not
as
against
pure
the
as you
word
would
of
look
God.
at a little girl. And you know, unfortunately, women have got a hold of this power of the lust scenario, and there are women who are absolutely going to show their bodies, and we men are going to have to control ourselves. You know, I don't know of too many scenarios where it's the opposite way around. Maybe women lust as much as we do, but we just can't see it. You know, we can't see how it happens. You know, lust is not only just a momentary thing, you know. I guess I'll put this out there, but, you know, sometimes lust happens when you take images home with you. And that's why the Lord warned us about worshiping idols, right? We see some beautiful woman, and that woman becomes our lover in the nighttime. And you are, you know, it's a pure act of lust when you begin to impress your images upon her. And so just another way to look at the scenario of lust. I'm telling you, you're digging ditches when you exemplify those thoughts. You are literally digging trenches and digging, you're chipping at the rock of your own foundation when you display and play those images in your head over and over and over. I know she was fine, but she don't belong to you. And in the moments that you are violating her space from afar, you know, there is a chance that you could be violating her space in reality. You know, people don't understand the power of consciousness and how thought works. It is very powerful, and you could be causing other people
A lot of harm.
a lot of harm. You know,
Let me give you an
a
example.
lot of harm. Yes,
Let me give you an example.
please.
And I'm gonna give it to you on a clear note, because again, I heard when you're saying your brother's wife, and these things that you be like, well, you would think common sense wise, no one probably would want to go there. We already know if you don't train your mind, you'll let your mind continue to do things, and that's why people will run that way. So we're gonna look at it how I looked at it. I was looking at a young lady, and I was lusting after her because she was single. She was over there. She looked good. I wanted her. In my mind, I already undressed her. And I already knew she looked fine, so I was ready to get her home, see what I can get it undressed to see if it looked like what my mind said.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately,
Sometimes
it didn't
mine be
happen.
wrong.
Right? Yeah, I found that out too. But at that time, she didn't allow me that far. So again, the gift to conversate, giggle, laugh, get to know her a little bit, transpired. So it didn't happen that night. It happened a little bit later. And again, I played in my head about how it was gonna go down, and it didn't go down exactly how I played in my head, but it was real close to it because I started manifesting what I wanted. Okay, but I didn't get to know her. I just wanted her. So by the time we were spending time together and she was talking, I wasn't listening. I already had my motive, so when she asking me, it was like why. I'm like, why you still got clothes on? Why are you still dressed? You know, I mean, what's going on here? Because you ain't catching my vibe. My vibe says shut up and go upstairs and let's do this. Hers was, I want to know more about you. You can do that afterwards. So I had an intent on what I wanted, and I wasn't trying to find out what I was getting. So then when you get it and you with it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't exactly, you know, there was a lot there that I didn't see once it got released. Wow, but okay, you know, we gonna get by. This was cool. Now we done and we chilling, ain't cuddling, cause you know I ain't feeling it now, cause I got what I wanted. I desired it, I seen it, and I manifested it. So I feel good now. I did this, and she's still over there talking. I was like, well, shouldn't you be asleep or something? Why you over there talking? No, you want to go? No, I'm good. And then I realized I wanted something I don't even know what I wanted. I didn't take the time to realize what, because I was too busy wanting what I didn't even know. Knew I had some power in me to probably get it. Didn't think about understanding what I'm getting. Because I got in that position where I didn't, at one time I was chasing after and I wasn't able to achieve it. So then when you start achieving it, sometimes you get away from you. I got into my ego of knowing I should be able to. Now I was able to get, and then it's real easy to get what they would call low-hanging fruit. That I say low-hanging fruit, that's why I don't talk about nobody. If y'all don't know what low-hanging fruit is, Bartova J has a sidebar, and I tell y'all. But I ain't gonna say nobody ain't ugly, but they ain't the cutest, okay? Low-hanging, it shouldn't have took much. Don't brag about y'all. And then y'all over there bragging about low-hanging fruit. Just know we all know what that is.
We know what that is, yeah.
But you grabbed it and you was like proud of it, and it shouldn't have took no talking. Hardly any. But you got it, and now you don't even know what you got. And now you mad. And I'm not understanding why we getting so mad when we get so into ourselves. So a lot of time to get away from it is just to understand when you go through them bad relationships. Did you really take the time? And half the time, you'll ask yourself, no.
Yeah.
Did I ask the questions? Was I really trying to get into her or get in her? And that's when you start knowing you lusting over being balanced. And that's where I really wanted to dig back when y'all was balancing off. I'm like, I'm unbalanced because until you really see what you do and realize the end result didn't work out with, a lot of times it's because of the lust factor compared to a person taking the time. Because before sex ever happened, sometimes I walked away now.
Yeah, and,
I walked away. This way, it ain't gonna, and I know it ain't gonna
I
be
think
good.
every person, including and particularly every man, has been through the scenario where they lusted their way right on into getting it,
Yeah.
and then realized shortly after that that's not where they wanted to be.
Mhm.
And
That's why we left.
Yeah, and that's why we got up and left, or cut the fool, or whatever the case may be. Only made booty calls to those people, whatever. We've all been down that scenario before. I want to just dive just a little bit into another one of these factors here.
Okay.
And there's several of them to deal with. One is envy, one is gluttony, one is wrath, one is sloth. We've got greed and pride. There's a lot of things to cover when it comes to these 7 deadly sins. And, I wanted to say this at the beginning of the show. When we talk about 7 deadly sins is a word that is equated with promoting oneself to hell and damnation. to the fire and hell and damnation. If you do these things, you are putting yourself on a pathway to hell. And I'd just like to change the definition just a little bit. That may very well be the case that God has for us when we sin, but I want to look at sin as being off the mark.
Okay.
Right? It's not hell and fire and brimstones and damnation. It's just off the mark. You're very much off the mark when you have greed in your spirit. Okay, a very excessive or excessive pursuit or desire of material possessions. Right, and greed will cause you to lie, cheat, and steal. Right?
Us will too.
Yeah, greed is one of those.
Everything will.
One of those things that will, because they're all excessive. That's why everything will. All right, they're all excessive behaviors. They're abnormal. They're behaviors that might express some form of illness or sickness that you have in your spirit. And what's basically being said here is that when you seek more than your unfair share, you really put yourself at a disadvantage. Okay. You may win the battle in the worldly world, but in the spiritual world, it's doomsday, right? And greed is one of those things that I think plagues mankind, right? Because it causes people to not do the right thing, right? And that greed is sometimes manifested because of great fear. To not be able to make ends meet, or to not, be able to get your portion. But what it says here, it says that it condemns things eternally for the sake of temporal things. Greed condemns, right? More than your unfair share. I don't think there's any way to disagree on that subject. There's nothing wrong. People tell me in the car business all the time, there's nothing wrong with making profit, Stacy. And I do believe that is correct. There's nothing wrong with making profit. But if you make so much profit that you take it, that there is the notion that you have taken advantage of someone, you are exemplifying greed.
But greed is relative in the world.
I don't think it's relative.
Yes, it is. It's very relative.
Tell me about that. We got a couple of minutes before we go to break. Tell me about
greed
that.
is very relative in the world, because other than that, how can you explain how America operates? America operates on greed. Nothing else but greed. Because how can you tell me that greed is not relative when you sell a car or anything where you make a margin or a profit that is so far-fetched that when the car breaks down, the mechanic is making, it could be a 15-minute job and they're charging you an hour of labor. That's greed.
Is that greed?
Greed is relative. That's how every corporation has become a corporation, because of greed. Nothing more, nothing less.
No, I think if you would look at the foundation of every corporation, you would
What do
see.
you mean? Every
Let me
corporation?
finish my point.
No,
Let me finish my point.
Go ahead.
Every corporation that has put product on the ground is selling a service. And there is competition, which sometimes manages greed. I think a lot of times manages greed. But we're not built, I don't think this country is built on the backs of necessarily greed. I think this country is built
What
on.
in the world?
Wait, hold on, no.
They do.
Are you serious?
Don't mistake niche. Don't mistake niche for the whole thing.
Okay.
All right?
I'm
Please don't
looking
do
at-
that, because 75% of all business is small business. We're getting fair share. If you have a product and
I'm
you offer
talking
it,
about major corporations. Major corporations are built on greed.
they're built
Period,
on.
point blank.
Well, I wouldn't
Every
say that,
major
man.
corporation is built.
Competition.
No, every major corporation is built on greed. The reason that every major corporation succeeds is because they have money to put another corporation built up and tie them up in courts so they can't fight. So therefore, they're forced to sell off their rights, their patents, and everything because of greed. You can't tell me that is the way America is built on communism and capitalism. It's
exactly.
greed.
Exactly.
The entire system
A
is
phone
built on
that
Yes,
costs
sir.
the iPhone costs $90 to make.
Okay.
Costs $1,100.
That costs $1,100.
That's greed.
Has anybody made a comparable product that they can charge $500? I don't think that anybody made that product.
Samsung and iPhone is made by the same
Yeah.
company.
And did-
They're against each other.
And did they get the people's attention? They might not have gotten the people's attention. I can
It's
charge $1,100 if I got the only product and the best product. That's competition. That's business. Your business, the next business that you create, I promise you, when you get there, it's because your product is going to be better. There's always going to be a layer of greed. There's always going to be a layer of
That's
people
what we
with
talking about.
ulterior motives. But we're talking about the basis of an entire society is not built on greed. It's built on
You
products
telling me
and
the
services,
United States
needs.
of America is not built on greed? You telling me the United States of America is not built on greed?
I
The
believe-
United States of America is
I
so
believe-
fucking lazy.
listen,
My bad.
I believe-
They
I believe-
decided
listen,
to go and get slaves,
I
bring
see-
them over to make them build this
I see
world,
what you're
and
saying.
then they're going to say
I
that
see
we
what you're
built.
saying.
Man, come on.
I see what you're saying, right?
It's built on greed.
I see what you're saying. And do you think that greed is the whole, or you think that greed is a few?
Greed is what made the USA what it is today.
You know, man, I see
if-
where you're coming
okay,
from. I don't
so-
like the way you're saying it. I don't like the way you put it. You condemn it.
This
You condemn it.
world is built on my ancestors and your ancestors back.
Listen,
For
you going back.
no
you
labor.
going back.
We
to,
talking about greed.
You going back to a
We're
whole
talking
era.
about the essence of greed.
No.
Nothing more, nothing
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
The pure instinct and essence and validity of greed.
It wasn't the masses.
How do you figure it wasn't the masses? If the
I don't think it
United
was
States
masses.
came over here, just like
I
Christopher
don't-
Columbus
you
came over
telling
here and
me-
said, hey,
So-
I've discovered this phone.
Every
And this
product.
is already my phone. How can you not tell me that's greed? How can you not tell me that's greed?
I hear what you're saying. I'm not taking away
It's
what you're
pure
saying.
greed.
I'm not taking away what you're saying. But I'm saying, even
Okay.
though it represents the great supply of
Okay.
profit, it is still the few.
Let's put it
Don't
like this.
call the whole system messed up, because that's the same system you got to operate in, and the same system
But I
that you
know
are
how
going
to
to try to
operate
make.
in the system because the system made us operate within the system.
Okay.
I mean, we give you the system give you the Bible, tell you to forgive us in every single sin and curse, which it is 7 of them, to go with the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me, hey, the easiest way to forgive and forget and move on is to take this Bible, which is what we're gonna give you, and you stay humble. Come on.
And where are you going, man? Where you?
I'm
you
talking
going-
about
are
the
we talking about
essence of
religion
greed.
here, man? We talking about. We talking about.
Okay,
we talking about the
it's-
spirit of greed. Let's not
Exactly.
talk about religion. We talking about the
The
spirit
Bible
of
is
greed.
part of greed.
But listen, do you read the Bible, man?
Yes, I've read it twice.
Okay, well
and
listen,
I've
what
read
does
the
greed
Quran.
tell you? And what does greed tell you?
Have you read the Quran? Have you read the Bible from front and back?
What
I've
does
read
the
it
greed
from
tell
front and
you?
back.
You're changing the subject. What does greed tell you? What does greed tell you? And what is greed talked about in the Bible?
Greed is nothing more and nothing less but trying to get as much
And
out
so-
of any person or individual
It exists.
that you possibly can for the least amount of pay.
Isn't that competition, though, man? Isn't that bargaining? Isn't that bargaining?
No, that's not bargaining.
See, man, I don't want to call the whole system corrupt. I know there is.
How do you
I
not
know
call
there-
the whole system corrupt when you know it's corrupt?
Listen, because 75% of all business is small business. That means these people are getting up and putting in a hard day's work. You're looking at the top 10% of the billions and billions of business, but you ain't talking about the everyday. I go down and buy my
You
milk
know-
and butter
you
from
know
the guy
why?
on the corner store.
You know why?
You know why I do that?
You know why
Because I trust him.
You know why
And
75%?
I trust him. That's
you know why-
competition.
You know why 75% is small businesses? Because people
they
have
work.
actually got a notion and figured out that corporate America is nothing more than a fucking slave trade.
Okay, man, you got a vendetta with corporate America. I understand.
No, I'm just
Man,
telling you what it
I don't
is.
want to hear about corporate
That's-
America
that's
because you're
why-
still talking about a few
that's
making
why,
decisions.
No, that's why it's 75% small business. Because the 75% have got a clue that, hey, why should I work for him and I'm making 10 cents and he's making $1 when I can do the same thing and get the $1?
That's right. But the same thing ain't the same thing. You got to build the product on the front end. You got to manufacture it. You got to put laws and rules behind it. You got to go and support the customer on the backside. Sometimes everybody can't do all that. But there is a constituency of people in this America that are driving the economy. And those are small businesses. And their businesses is not based on
We're going to go to
greed.
break, y'all.
Their business is
We got
based
to come
on
back to this.
a valuable product
I
being
think
put
y'all
into
are
the
not
world.
agreeing. See, y'all should have did this with the other one.
Yeah.
Because y'all doing that on this one.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know where y'all at, and again, this is not an argument, this is a debate.
This is
Because
debate.
again,
This is
we're
discussion.
looking
This
at
debate.
small businesses, but we also really, the word is greed. And one of the things we want to see is how does it plague you and where it's at in your life. So again, you might agree with Buddha over here, with corporate America is being extremely greedy. Or again, my man Kraft with small businesses is just doing it in a way where it's this competition. Now, I can't tell you which way you guys are thinking it, but we're talking about it. So y'all stay tuned, 'cause this ain't over.
We'll be right back. More Bar Talk with Jay.
All right.
Back
with Bar Talk with Jay.
We are back.
One of the
More
things I
Bar
gotta
Talk
tell
with
y'all,
Jay.
we are in a great debate. And one of the things that we're talking about, and I'm going to just chime in real quick because I'll let y'all two go back and forth. And this is what I was talking about. I wanted to stir it up the first time like this. Y'all did it the second time. I appreciate that. One of the reasons I like to stir it up because I'll never know where y'all at. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go into it business-wise real quick and with greed. When I started Dispose, and I was able to get with me and my partner, and we was talking. And again, we look at what goes on in corporate America, and we know what some of the bigger companies are doing. As me, as an employee for a long time working with big corporations, I noticed that employees are paying for their own health care pretty much. They get a big discount because of group, and it's past where the employees are paying, okay? And in this whole situation, there's very little you can do because other corporations do the same thing. So at this point, that is the margin of where it's at.
The standard. Yeah.
So guess what? When we did this one, Dispose, if you come over here with me, I pay your medical. You don't pay. We pay. Okay? That takes away from what we can have as agreed. And my whole thing is giving it back to a person. Because if you want to do something different, get in position to do it. Don't sit on the sideline and say, no, it ain't, or it is, or have your opinion. If you want to make change, put yourself in a working position to make change. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Where minimum wage is, I'm starting you off at $20. $20 coming into me. My whole thing is I went with 20 because I thought it was a fair number because I heard someone was doing 18. I don't think 18 is fair if you qualify to do and drive the equipment that I have. Now, these are margins that can take away from a profit on my side. At some point, you got to realize you got to invest in the people that make you. That's up to you. So if none of y'all like what goes on, then y'all can vote. But if you don't like corporate America, then learn everything you can. Do not just start your own. That could be the most ignorant thing you can do when you ain't knowledgeable. Please know everything that you possibly can. Get in alignment with the right people and then start implementing the things that you don't like. And then people can have choices. And then the greed can be shifted. And I like to say it should be given back. But when I'm looking at it right now, it seems like the poor are not getting hardly anything and the rich is staying powerful. Where I would love to see a shift where we all can get a little bit of the pie. That's why it's 75% small businesses, but a lot of them are struggling. And it's hard because everything is not being funneled down. And you can't look for the government to fix everything. But what I can tell you, don't look for the government, look at yourselves. Can you put yourself in position to be more powerful? than complaining. Because it's easy for me to look at the corporation I came from, but I also know they have way more money than me.
Right.
And I don't feel like I need to disrespect them. I need to do better customer service, and I need to have a better quality of service to talk about them. And if I don't have that, then I am very much done in this industry. So again, you have to have a commitment and a drive, not just your mouth. Quit mouthing off about what's already before you. Christopher Columbus here, that doesn't happen. Are we willing to do anything to change it? Because I know for a fact I can't walk in somebody's home and say, hey, it's mine. And now this is my home. I can't just do that. What was done in the past cannot be repeated now because they did so many things to make it change. But it does not nullify the fact that a lot of stuff was happening with greedy intention. They took over a lot of stuff. My whole thing now is with that greed that they had, that don't mean they have to drive me. I don't have to have that same evilness in my mission and what I want to do. That's why so many positive people came out and done for so many others, regardless of who they might be. And I mentioned one name, Tyler Perry, did great things. Okay? Now, to me, they say he's greedy because of all the stuff he did. He worked hard. I'm not going to talk about a man's greed when I see him putting in work. His work is his business. His pay is his. Now, he needs to do this. That's where I feel like we are so wrong. Don't judge just because a person put in a great situation and develop a great product.
Right.
Then now we feel like we want to be judgmental. Don't judge him.
Don't judge him.
Try to accomplish more than him. And at that point, we grow. I love listening to somebody tell me about how strong we are, but yet I always hear somebody else want to bring it all back down and make it seem like we ain't went nowhere, ain't gonna go nowhere. That mentality needs to stop, and our movement needs to move forward. That's why greed means a lot to me, because it's not gonna be the focus of my eye. I just don't run for money. It's one of the things that you said. How much money you make when you do the show? Now, see, that's somebody that's looking for greed. Like, you already making money on the car deals. I've seen you sell several cars. Now you making money over there too. That's a greedy mentality. Or what? You ain't making none. So that's a waste of your time. They don't understand the investment. Everything comes with an investment in chasing money. I try to teach it to my kids all the time. Understand your dream and understand what you're going for. And then you can control your destiny and make money off of what is in you. Because whatever you really want to do, you got to have a passion and want to do it. Because there's days you ain't going to want to do it. And I promise you, there's days when this show come on, I'll be like, I got this going on and that. And I have to push all that out of my mind, because I know when I fought to get this far, I got to keep on fighting.
There you go. Or
the show won't go on. But what I love is I got people that's around me. You, Phil. I asked Phil to come and he's here. Now, any other time, Phil half behind, but he's here. Barb, every time in the background when she can't, she's sitting in the script. Booby, Adrian, Rock, if he ain't working, he here. See, this kind of commitment, not to mention my bartender behind me, Hurricane, that caused all kind of hurricanes. Heard about earthquakes happening. I think she might have caused some of them too. These things are happening. And my man King performs and still finds his way here. TR380, and I can name so many others. These people come because of our vibe. We are vibing because we are trying to give reality a dose of what they really need. Reality need to know that we care, we love each other, and we want to give you a product that you can actually go back and listen to and enjoy.
Yeah, and I want to go into some other things. Let me just make one point, if I may, on greed. Greed is real in the world. There's a lot of it happening. And the way I think about it is that I escape the intentions of greedy people because of my relationship with the Lord. And it's just my protection mechanism. And He'll let me know someone's intentions. He'll show me, the right way or the right numbers or the right stuff. And I just depend on that to overcome my greed, to overcome greed in the world. But here's the other side of the equation. Nobody owes you anything. Life is not fair, right? And that the good life belongs to those who just know how to get it. And if it happens to be on your back, that's because you haven't figured out how to overcome. And you got to have an overcoming spirit in order to overcome things like greed, right? Because they seem too powerful for you, right? And you don't have any choices. They take your choices away. It requires us to change. It requires us to diversify. It requires us to make some other decisions. But as long as you're saying they have the power, then you're always going to be subject to their power. And I moved from a very worldly thing to a very spiritual way to think about it. But greed is not anything that's going to have victory over me and my life, and no one else's greed. That I'm going to be victorious over any intentions of greed, because I'm only here to do the purpose for which God brought me for, right? And I always use that old adage, what the Lord says, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. I'm not worried about how much they charge in taxes. I'm not worried about any of those kinds of things. I pay the money, I play the game in the system, but I have a spiritual anointing upon my life for prosperity. And that's where my faith rests, that no malintention is going to come against me and put my back against the wall. I'm victorious over the spirit of greed. And just my 2 cents, before we drive on.
Let me jump in with your 2 cents.
Please.
One of the things I got to tell you, it's not just 2 cents. If I know you came into some money, and I be like, yo, man, can you help me out? Okay, you got to look at what's being presented. Your blessing could be somebody else's curse. Because a lot of time they look at you and be like, man, why you? Not to say it didn't come easy to you.
Ooh, envy, that's
because
another one. Go ahead.
What happened to you was a tragedy of losing your father. But anything that might have came from that, to somebody else, man, you done came up. Not understanding, I lost a hero. And I have to live with that. And what he left me is what I got to figure out what I'm going to also leave with my children. So you already looking at your legacy. But to them, man, you just made it. So guess what? Now that I'm hurting, I can just push that off. Instead of understanding, I have to work. I don't have to look at you just because you'll come up to me. I can come off of you. I don't have no way of repaying you. I have no way of doing, but I just know you made yours. I need to make mine.
You just described
laziness.
Yeah,
lack of work. Instead of me coming to you and saying, man, crap, man, I know you're doing big things and you got this going on and I got some small stuff going, but I'm trying. See, sometimes I need to go for encouragement, but I'd rather go for money. And that's where today's time has gained, where everybody want to run game. I would rather give you a sad story to see if you can give, because I know you have it. Okay? And then when you don't, I want to blast you and talk about you. Dename you, defame you, and do everything I can, because I have greed and envy in my eye. Because I know you can do more. I know you can do something for me. You know I'm hurting. But my whole thing is, what are you doing? Are you sacrificing? Are you selling? My whole thing is, I would sell off some stuff and have less than before I have to run to somebody, because I ain't learned my lesson. One of the things I'm going to tell you about being greedy, overly greedy, you trying to get an abundance of everything and don't even know how to control your own destiny. I promise you, that's why a lot of people end up broke, even with money. They don't even understand their destiny.
Yeah.
But they want, because what they seen, TV and the things that we've seen make us feel like that's what we have to have, not understanding what you're having.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue into one of the other 7 deadly sins, which is envy and jealousy. Right? TV done pumped you up. Like, this is how the world should be. This is what you should have. This is what you should be doing. This is how you should dress. This is how you should look. This is how you should act and behave. And then, it's a character flaw, right? Jealousy. People are jealous of you. And they may be jealous of your traits. They may be jealous of your status. They may be jealous of your abilities. They may be jealous of your rewards. And oftentimes will try to look down upon you, or maybe, look down upon you because you have achieved a certain thing, or you are at a certain level and they aren't. That is another one of the 7 deadly sins. Remember, way off the mark. If you are jealous of someone else's success, then you are not looking at the situation correctly, right? You are really not looking at the situation correctly. You mentioned another one, Jay, the 7 deadly sins, sloth. And sloth is major, right? Sloth is a spiritual laziness, being lazy, physically lazy. Failing to develop spiritually is the key to becoming guilty of sloth, right? One other publication mentioned it as not willing to receive God's blessings, not willing to get up and participate in the scheme of life. A lot of people don't know that laziness is a sin, right? And Proverbs talk about it all the time. The man who doesn't get up and go to work usually winds up going hungry. The one who sits back and lounges on his heels usually have nothing to show for his time and for his effort. And, it's a spirit that it really goes so much deeper, because a lot of times that laziness is really depression. A lot of times that sloth attitude is you feel defeated and you're afraid to get up again. You don't know how to get up again. But you got to understand that you're off the mark when you're operating at those levels of consciousness. It's just important for you to have a purpose in your life. It's important for you to have something to fight for in life. For some people, that fight is just for the kids. Just to make sure the kids got food on the table tomorrow, just to make sure you get the light bill paid, just to make sure that you could pay the mortgage or you can pay rent that month. And, the fight for survival causes you to overcome laziness sometimes, right? But once you've gotten survival out of the way, do you think that it's okay to just sit still and lounge? And that's where, much is given, much is required. You cannot lounge on your gifts and your talents. You cannot lounge on your money. You cannot lounge on your time. I believe that lounging on any of those things is taking part of God's potential and just putting it on the sideline. And when you do that, then He's going to put you on the sideline. He meant for you to get up with a spirit of go get 'em, make it happen, do something big, achieve something, satisfy your spirit with the gift of attainment, the gift of performance, the gift of achievement. That is what life is all about. Remember I said earlier that sometimes it's, the things that bring the greatest joy is pursuing our desires. Mm-hmm. And we have stories to tell, we have experiences, we get lots of wisdom and understanding from fighting for life, and that's what life is meant for. Just imagine a plant that just refuses to grow anymore, right? A plant that refuses to grow anymore loses its rigidness, It doesn't have the ability to stand up anymore. It starts to lean to the side. It becomes prey for anything that wants to devour it. Right? This is just nature I'm talking about.
Right, but I'm gonna tell you when I'm thinking about that, you could take a tree and put that seed in a small little vase, and it'll never become that big tree.
It'll never become the big tree.
Well, my whole thing is you gotta understand, if you don't expand where you in and where you at, you are gonna limit what you can grow to. Mm-hmm. And that's your exposure and what's around you, and we're not always talking about it, and that's what we're trying to do tonight. We got some things going on where we mentioning the 7 sins. We're not trying to scare you. We just giving you some guidelines of things to watch out for.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
To help guide you.
Right.
But again, we all know, and I've said it myself, there's a lot of things that I've done that I want to look at a little bit more closely, because the man in the mirror is the one you answer to.
Yes.
And a lot of times you want to compare yourself to what you see, and that's TV. And you're going out there, but if you turn internally, and that's you, and you get the understanding of what you are to be doing, you'll do less of that and more of you.
Absolutely, Jay.
And then that is the finesse that helps you in life get closer to other people.
Yeah.
People gravitate to good people that understand themselves.
Yeah.
When I see you out of character and not in self all the time, I tend to shy away.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've been down that path.
Yeah.
And if you ain't ready, you ain't gonna try to hear what I got to say.
Yeah.
But when you crash and you went down and you look, I won't turn my back. I will be able to give you a hand to have you a better understanding, because at that point, you might listen.
Yeah.
But as long as you just running reckless, you ain't hearing what nobody's saying.
Yeah.
I watched it.
You know what? When I think about envy and jealousy, I just don't. I don't inside understand it. It's such a shallow perspective on things that if I come up and I become successful, why would somebody dislike me because I'm successful?
Because they wasn't.
And I understand
I worked
that.
just as hard as
I
you.
understand that,
But
but
you made it over.
it-
And I was right there next to you. I was fighting for you.
Yeah.
But yet,
yeah.
I'm jealous of you. Because jealousy happens.
Yeah.
Because why wasn't it me?
But now I begin to hate on you
Because I hate me.
because I hate me.
I hate
Woo,
me. I hate
that's
the
powerful.
failure in me.
That's powerful.
I can't tell you I hate me. I can't tell you I'm disgusted at all the decisions that I made.
Yeah.
But I can hate you
Yeah.
and hate on you,
Yeah.
knowing it's a reflection of me not wanting to look at me. That's
so
where it
powerful.
comes from.
That's so powerful. Oh, that's so powerful. Yeah, listen, it is. It's just about time for us to take another break here, and I want you folks to stay tuned with us. We're gonna come back and wrap this show up with a bang, and we hope you're enjoying thus far. Stay tuned. We're gonna close it out big. We'll be right back. More Bar Talk with Jay.
Talk with Jay, man. I tell you, we had a great debate on that one right there.
That was good dialogue, man. You know,
Man.
I always say that I've never heard these kinds of dialogues anywhere. I heard them most certainly in the church. But
I heard him tonight.
That's about the only other place I've heard these kind of dialogues, and for me, that's what makes this dialogue so rich. And you know, just to be able to talk about, you know, kind of the sins of the world, the things that take us off the mark, is you know, it's profound, really. In having this discussion, would you agree, Ken?
That's right.
It's actually quite profound to even have this discussion, and that's how I know we're being led by the Lord. I don't even know where this subject came from. Where did this subject come from, Jay?
It came from me.
You?
One of the reasons
And why
I
did
went.
you? Why did you?
It's just a guiding factor because I was thinking about topics to talk about, and it's one of the things that me and my brothers talked about in the group, and that's why I invited Phil, because we covered these in our men's meeting, and I wanted to make sure I give the world some of the things that we experienced in the men's meeting, because if you have a better understanding of a breakdown of what they're saying and the definition and what it means to you, it plagues you to do something about it. And what I heard in that meeting was so much exposure to other people's thinking of it
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to make sure the world heard it from us in a way that they can relate to it.
What was the word that night?
We had several. That's why I brought Phil. Because Phil brought, what was it? It wasn't just the 7. It was the 7 sins and what else?
No, I brought the 7 angels.
There you go. That's what it was.
7 angels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know nothing about it. And
Yeah.
it was opening my eyes to something more and new. And that's why I said when I did the 7 sins, which I knew more people were more comfortable with, I can go into more later. Because that's why this is going to be more than a part 2. But the one thing I wanted to make sure I did was give you all
7
exposure.
angels, 7 sins,
Yeah, and
7 curses.
7 persons. Okay. Yeah,
They
and
all correlate together.
yeah, absolutely. They all correlate together. Let me just read this. This comes directly from Proverbs. Okay, and here are these are 6 things that the Lord hates. 7 that are detestable to Him. Haughty eyes. That's when people look down on other people. A lying tongue. Hands that shed innocent blood. A heart that devises wicked schemes. See, he's got something for greed, right? Feet that are quick to rush into evil. people are quick to start trouble, right? A false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community.
Oh man.
Are you convicted right there again, Jay?
Man.
You ain't stirred up no trouble in the
I
community.
tried to do it all night. Oh.
Leave them men's wives alone, you'll be all right.
No, I ain't had nobody wild now. But hey, if she was single, she was walking down the street, she was hit by me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And listen, we are not in any way judgmental. These are not our judgments. These are judgments that are coming from the old regime of life. And the old regime of life basically say that to do any of these things, lust and envy and greed and sloth and haughty eyes and lying tongues and shedding innocent blood and wicked schemes, all of these things will deteriorate your life. They create bad manifestations. They create trouble in your real life circumstance. And you know, it's hard to describe what I'm attempting to, but he's saying that when you look down on someone, then God's going to begin to look down on you. He's going to send some people who probably should have been looking up to you, but those people are going to look down on you. When you look down at people, you are preparing yourself to experience great shame in the world. And it's important that we understand the balance between these two. We're talking about the behaviors, excessive behaviors, and how they manifest into problems in one's real life. Right? Somewhere between those two, there's something really spiritual happens. There's something really supernatural. That says that if I act in a certain way that is off the path of a good life, then I'm going to experience the challenge and the struggle and the pain associated with my own behavior. Right? If I take advantage of people knowingly, then somebody's going to take advantage of me.
Correct.
Right? You know, we want to uplift the spirit here. We're trying to uplift the spirit, and these are some of the stones that you're stepping on that are falling underneath your feet. You know, if you know that you struggle from lust, it's a wake-up call. That's what this discussion is for. This is a wake-up call for you to begin to try and purify your own mind. And to realize that those thoughts that you have of someone who you have no business thinking of them in that way, those thoughts are going to produce a like and equivalent struggle and challenge and pain in your real life. And that means we have to become accountable for our behavior, and we have to become accountable for our thoughts. You cannot just let your mind fly away in whatever direction that you want to, because there are repercussions to those ugly thoughts, right? And you know, it would be something like this. A man typically in his lust state will look at a woman very sexually, right? And what God wants you to do is to look at that woman almost like you would look at a child. You would look at a child with innocence, and you would look at a child with promise and with hope and with a heart of love and purity. And he wants you to look at a woman like that. And when you don't look at a woman like that, there are repercussions to pay, because you don't see the perfection that he put into her. All you can see is the surface of things, where she may be sick and troubled, or misunderstand life, misunderstand the representation of her own body, and she's misusing her body. It's not meant for you to play into that. It's not. You're not meant to partake into that. You are supposed to turn away. And I remember hearing Creflo Dollar one time saying, he said, before I came to this pulpit, he said, the Lord did not allow me to come do this work in the pulpit until I stopped undressing women in my mind. Man, that was so powerful. That means he's not going to seat you in a position of authority with a lustful spirit. Right. And how many of us are in some way being held back from our greatest good because we are engaged in some of these excessive behaviors?
Spiritual warfare.
Right? Spiritual warfare. That's exactly right. You know, that brings me to, and I'm gonna turn it over here in just 1 second. Let me just make this point. I think this is valid to make, right?
Okay.
When we experience lust and envy and greed and sloth and laziness, that we really need to begin to understand, like the good book says, we do not war against things of the flesh. We are warring against things of the spirit. And if you will recall Jesus' walk, the only manifestations that he healed was he healed bodies' mind. He healed people's bodies and their eyes, etc. And he rebuked the bad spirit out of people. He rebuked the devil, the demons, the dark spirits that people are chasing. These are dark spirits. And sometimes if you are dealing with some of these, you need somebody to pray over you. You need a supernatural word because you're fighting things that you can't fight on your own. You need those dark spirits to be broken inside of here. And once they're broken in here, you'll be able to see the light and see your wrongs or where you can do better or how you missed the mark over time. So, these things it's like something has taken over the flesh sometimes. And the only way to deal with those is through spiritual warfare, because that's how Christ dealt with all of them. He acknowledged that I need to come against these things in the spirit, and they'll fly away in the flesh.
One of the reasons I can tell you right now, that's profound, and it is deadly on point. But one of the things I can tell you also that can help you is when you try not to listen to what Kraft's saying, and you want to live worldly, you're going to do until he puts you to your knees. Because it's a desire that you're going to keep on trying to do until you think it's going to please you, and it won't, because that's all it is. It's a lure, okay? And you're going to be lured down a path other than where you need to be.
Yes.
So it's these things are to keep you on path. That's why they named them up front. But you feel like I can handle them, I can balance with them, and I can do this in life and incorporate it. Now what happens is it's going to take you down paths that you probably should have easily avoided. People that lust around you. After a while, it becomes upon you. Because you ain't did nothing to say anything to them. I got along to get along. And next thing I know, I'm at these strip parties. I'm doing these different things. But I don't want to make no wave. Now, to me, I don't know your gift. But I can tell your calling. If that ain't you, then that ain't where you need to be. But we tend to want what we don't care for. All people's company ain't good for you. Ain't good for your environment, or that plant that I told you about, that plant. It was probably going to grow small anyway. But I feel like we're an oak tree, and you put me in a small vase. Because I didn't know no better, and I didn't know what was holding me. But now that I'm starting to realize that this ain't going to expand, because you're condemning me. Because that's why he wrote these things, to keep you able to expand, not to stay hindered. These 7 things will hinder you. I want you to grow. I want you to be the biggest possibility that he has for you. I don't know what it is. But as long as you listen to the world and what's on TV, it will probably hinder because you don't know. He's not going to tell you everything. It is in faith.
You don't know.
You have to believe. You have to do. That's why the laziness is going to condemn you. It's not about being lazy. It is about doing. Once you do, and you believe, and you continue, it will be shown to you. That's how it was written.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how it's going to be presented. But I do believe everybody deserves what he has for you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
deserve to go get it and quit looking at somebody else. That's where the lust comes from. Right. Look for somebody else, some woman to take care of you, some man to deal for you. When he has it for you, you don't have to look at nobody. They're going to look at you. Right. That's the power within you. But the world says this is what it should be. You don't even know how to get it, but you want it. You want to be a boss. You want to own your own. but you don't even listen to a person that can show you. You at work acting ignorant, falling off, acting nutty, buddy, but you want to be the person that want to control the world and showing no discipline. All I can tell you is slow your roll, and he will show you a better road. But we want to act out, and be seen, be heard, and don't even know what we're saying. Power of the tongue works so many different ways. I just want us to be more intelligent, to understand we can control our mouth and our behavior, and we can show everybody what he has for us.
Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah.
arguing, fussing, and fighting, and not getting anywhere. A dialogue of understanding
Yeah.
can change your whole life by changing your bottom
Watch this.
circumference of what you've been planted in.
Watch this. Man, that was great, Jay. That's dropping mic, man. That's dropping mic. That's
Pour it out,
dropping
Jay.
mic. Yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah,
Clean it up, too.
we are preparing. We are preparing for close here, and we just got a few more minutes. I think one of the most prevalent of the deadly sins is lust. I think it's something that everybody deals with in their own fashion, in their own time and timing. Lesser in elder years and more in younger years. It's something we all fight with, right? But what came to mind when Jay was talking was, if anybody remembers the story in the Garden of Eden, that when Adam and Eve ate of the tree of knowledge, right? That's when the trouble happened, right? Because when Adam ate of the tree of knowledge, he began to lust. He began to want to know what's behind that flower. He wanted to know what's underneath that dress.
You gotta back
You
up.
see what I'm saying?
You gotta back up.
And so we're trying to help somebody here, right? Go ahead, Bill.
You gotta
Go ahead.
back up.
It better be
because
good, man.
It wasn't Adam first. It was Eve.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh yes, it does.
No.
Oh
Okay,
yes,
well,
it does.
Go what you going with. Let's see what he going
It
with.
doesn't matter.
What you going with?
It does matter.
Why? Go ahead, tell him why.
It does matter.
Tell him why.
Doesn't matter anymore.
Tell him
How you
why.
think it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter how the universe came here, man. We just got work to do.
Really?
You know what I'm saying?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh,
Doesn't matter.
okay. I'll let you have it.
So,
You wanted to fight. Boom.
we can place
I'm
blame
nice.
anywhere we want. And
I mean,
this is not a blame
it's
game.
not blame.
but-
It's what is written. That's what's written.
What about it?
Adam didn't go first. Eve did.
So,
Oh, really?
are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
You sure that Eve didn't just get Adam to eat it first?
No. Because she
Oh,
was
no.
tempted by the serpent.
And she led Adam to it.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to look that one up again just to make
What
sure.
you
we're on
mean?
the
It's
page.
in Genesis.
I'm gonna do my own homework if you don't mind, please, sir.
I mean, you
But-
can do your own
so-
homework, but it's
so-
in Genesis. I mean, it's
so-
the first book.
so here's-
it's the beginning.
Here's the antidote I'm trying to create here, right? That and this is so common, I want to just bring this point. Men and women, when you look at other people, right? You should have things. There should be a criteria of things that you should want to know, right? We're talking about the tree of good and evil and the tree of knowledge, right? You should not be wanting to know what's underneath that dress, right?
In this day and age, you need to know.
I know, but the point is,
I'm sorry.
It might have a tallywhacker.
why you always go to the left? We're trying to help somebody.
I'm just saying.
You just find a way to go against the
You know
grain,
how
man.
we do.
Help somebody,
You need to know
man.
We
what's
ain't
up.
18 years.
I'm sorry. You need to know.
You might be shaped right,
I
and built right.
I need to know what's under that dress.
I'm just saying.
You don't need to know that.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Because 9.99% of them you ain't gonna never see, touch, feel, feel. You wasting all God's power up under somebody's dress, and you ain't got no business up under there, and you know it.
What'd he say?
Cut it out, man.
You girl in 72 flip flops on.
Wait till you have.
She flip flop.
Well, you'll be able to see that clearly. You won't need no lustful thoughts to see that.
That ain't gonna be no loser.
She flip flops in 62.
That's in plain view. You can see she's soft, just don't try to
You
You
can
know
talk
what
to
I'm saying?
Teddy. You can talk to Eddie, and they'll tell you they flip flops on me. I ain't know what I was getting.
Sound like the crying game.
I would imagine.
That's what we do.
I would imagine there's a lot of people in hell who thought like you thought.
A lot of people going, moving around like that.
Look, like Richard say, if it's hell, we all gonna go.
I ain't going. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be on that long line like Richard Pryor say.
Hey.
I'm going back the other way, my friend.
Sorry, we
So
all done sin.
listen,
The price of sin is death.
we live an eternal life based on our purity, right? And just like a good farmer, if the plant doesn't produce fruit, it will
In your lane.
if the plant doesn't produce good fruit, it will be pulled up and thrown away. God treats us the same way. If we're not of good fruit, we cannot enter the gates, because inside the gates is where real purity exists. So you got to show and prove yourself worthy. And a lot of people don't have nobody to prove themselves to, but if they're just proving themselves to the universe, but doing the right thing matters. This is a world where righteousness does matter. Whether you are in a religion or faith or spirituality or consciousness, or you just want to be a good person, it pays off to do the right thing
But the intentions are right.
every single time. Huh?
You can have good intentions, but the things that we can't see are the energy and the spiritual. So you have intentions, but the energy transfer that it goes with, follow along.
Well, yeah, and I think the intentions will set the mark.
Mm-hmm.
We all fall short of the glory, but intentions most certainly set the mark. This has been our show for tonight. I'm not sure if we can got any more time to dive in.
It's gonna have to be a part two.
We're going to have a part two. And let me tell you what is to come with part two. Tonight, what we did not talk about was wrath. We did not talk about pride.
Okay.
We did not talk about gluttony.
Jealousy.
And we covered a little bit of jealousy, but I imagine some of these are going to intertwine, because doing wrong is doing wrong, and there's just a bunch of names to call it. But we're all about righteousness, and we're going to bring you a part two of this show during our next episode. We want to thank you folks for being here with us tonight. Again, this is Bar Talk with Jay. My name is Craftmatic. This is my boy, Smooth Jay.
And
We got
Buddha in the
Phil in the
building.
house. I'm sorry, I call him Kid Dr. Phil, but this is Buddha in the house. We got Barb, King, Hurricane. We got a team behind the screen. And we really appreciate you folks coming out tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We're Thursdays, Facebook Live, 7 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
Catch us next week's show. We love you, and we are out.
Ain't no last calls here.
Bar Talk with Jay.